Yes, welcome everyone. As I already said, our topic for today is, of course, setting up your header and footer, and we will be using a block theme um, to do that. So, yeah, without further ado, let's jump straight into the lesson or into the online workshop. Just to kind of explain what I'm going to do today is I will be creating a header and a footer using patterns in the site editor. And then I will actually create a second demo using a different header pattern and a different footer pattern. And then we'll see what type of questions come from that. So I am going to jump out of here and I will make my way to my test website. I am using the 2024 default theme for those people who were wondering. And I actually have no plugins installed. All right, so we are here to talk about our headers and our footers, and I'm going to show you how to set that up from scratch. All right, so the first thing I have done is I've actually already created some pages. So of course, if you have a blank site, you are going to go to pages and there will be nothing and you'll be clicking on add new page. But to save us time, I have already set up my pages. I've created a home page, a services page, an about page, a contact page, and then for my services, I'm providing music lessons. So I've actually created 2 extra pages for private lessons and group classes. And I'm actually going to add those pages as sub pages in my header. And then I also have a privacy policy page and a terms and conditions page. Right, and of course, we want these to be in place because when we start creating our header, we want those pages to be picked up so that we can add them automatically. You can add them later. I will show you, but it's easier if you kind of set up all your pages and, of course, plan your website in advance. The next step is we need to talk about our homepage display settings. So to set up our homepage display settings, we need to go to Settings and Reading. So let's click on Reading. Now, by default, when you start a new WordPress site, you will see that your homepage display is set to your latest posts page. But I want a static homepage, so therefore I will be selecting a static page. And then you can select a static homepage and you can select a static posts page. So let me go ahead and then select the static homepage. I've already created my homepage. So I will select home. And then next to post page, if you created a blog page or a news page or any dynamic page, you can then select that as your static posts page. But for today, I'm not going to do that. I have a services page, and as I've mentioned, I've got 2 other pages as sub pages that I'm going to add for my business website. And then we can go ahead and hit save changes. Now, the one thing I want to talk about first is the template that has been assigned to my homepage now. So I have set a static homepage. So if we go to pages, you will notice that next to home, it says front page because that is my front page now. But the template that has been assigned to my homepage is the pages template. And I just wanted to point that out. So, of course, a template provides the structure or the design for a website. We don't add content to a template, but the template is like a container for all our content to go in. But in our template, of course, we create our header and our footer. That's why we're not creating our header and a footer here. We will do that in the template. But because we have set a static homepage, our homepage is assigned to the pages template, as well as all our other pages that we have created. So if I go back and, for example, select the About page, we will know all our pages have been assigned to the pages template. So they will share the same header and the same footer. And of course, we will add all our content here, but that's not kind of our focus for the day, right? Our focus is on the header and footer. So yes, all our content will go there. So let's say all our content is already there, and then we can move on to actually creating our header and our footer. And to do that, we need to make our way to the site editor, because we modify our templates in the site editor. So now we can go to appearance and then click on editor. And this is my homepage. So let me click on my homepage. There you will see home. Maybe I should just also mention this. So if I go to pages, you will see my homepage is already set up, and this is the page I'm on, and it's got that little home icon. Okay, so let's open up our homepage. Now, we add content to pages, as I said, and we modify our header and our footer in the template. So of course, I'm on my homepage, and you will actually see, if I click on my footer, I get this message: edit your template. Let me just do that again. It says edit your template to edit this block. And the same for my footer. I can't do anything there. As you will see, it's locked. I have to go to my template. So let's click on edit template. And now you will see at the top, it doesn't say home anymore, right? It says pages, because all my pages have been assigned to the pages template. And that is where we can now modify our header and our footer. You will even see it turns purple to show us that we can edit it, but it's also purple because it will show us that it's a synced. It is like a synced pattern. It is synced, meaning that if I change it here, it will update everywhere else it has been used. All right, so I'm just going to open up my list view as well. I think that's always helpful to kind of see where you are at and how the content or how the page is built. All right, so you will notice that, let me just open up my header here. We will see that when you create a new website, I'm using the 2024 theme, and I've actually been provided with a pattern already, which is great, because patterns have done all the hard work for you already. So we can just kind of go ahead and use this pattern and tweak this pattern to meet our design needs. But now the interesting thing is, you will notice if you look at the navigation block, just opening up all this so that we can see how this pattern has been built. But if we look at our navigation block, we will see all the pages that we've created have been added here. And you will notice if I try and edit this, nothing happens. It's because it's basically been added as a page list. And you'll see there's an edit button there. And even in your sidebar setting on the right, you will note it says edit this menu. This navigation menu displays your website's pages. Editing it will enable you to add, delete, or reorder pages. And of course, that's what we want to do, right? We want to edit, add, and delete, and reorder pages. So you can click edit here on the right, or you can click edit in your block toolbar. So let's say edit. And once I clicked edit, you will see all the pages have opened up. I don't have a page list anymore. And now we can start, moving things around, removing things, etc. Okay, so let's go ahead and set this up. So I'm going to use this pattern for now. So the first thing we're going to do is remove some of the pages we don't want here, and then build our header. Okay, so I want to keep my about page, my contact page. The group classes I'm going to remove for now. Now, the interesting thing is when you use the navigation block, as you can see, Sometimes you can do things in the list view. Sometimes you can do things in the sidebar. So if I click navigation, you will see I can see my my pages on the left and on the right. So I can actually remove it from here as well. So let's say, for example, group classes. I click on the 3 vertical dots and say remove group classes. I don't want my privacy policy page, so I'm going to remove that. My private lessons I'm going to remove, and my terms and conditions. Okay, so those are the pages I want to use. And now we can reorder these. Now, there's two ways of doing this again. You can select and you can drag and drop, or you can click on a menu item and you can use the arrows in your block toolbar or the movers. Okay, so let's move this around. I want my home page, and then I will use my arrows or my movers, services page, about page, and contact page. But now something else I want to actually do, or just point out that if you wanted to remove your home page, so I'm just going to remove my home page for a moment. And then I'm going to click on the plus icon, and I'm going to say add block. And then we're going to say browse all. And there's a home link. Now it says create a link that always points to the home page of the site. Usually not necessary if there is already a site title link present in the header. But I just wanted to mention, even if you change your homepage display, you don't have to worry about your homepage link again, because your homepage is there. So I'm just going to select the home link, and that will take us to our homepage. And then we can shift that up again. All right. So we've got that in place. The next thing I want to do is actually add sub pages. So we are, of course, going to go to the services page. And as I said, my page is going to provide music lessons. So I'm going to click on the 3 vertical dots and say add sub menu link. And you will notice there's the pages that I've created. So I'm going to say private lessons and do the same thing. Click on the 3 vertical dots, add sub menu link, and group classes. And if we click on settings, we can, of course, play around with some settings for our navigation block. Now, the first thing I want to point out here is that if you click on display, you can decide between two icons for your mobile icon, the hamburger menu. So for our website, let's select the 3 lines for our hamburger menu. And below overlay menu, you can say, oh, I actually never want a hamburger menu to be displayed. Or we can say only when it's viewed on mobile. Or you can even say always. And there you can see it pops up. And then it will always be a hamburger menu. But we're going to select mobile. Now we get to our sub-menus, right? I'm just going to, for now, I'm going to click on the 3 vertical dots at the top and say top toolbar, because sometimes these get in our way. So if we say top toolbar, it will move to the top and we can actually see this better. Okay, so again, let's open up our sidebar settings for now. All right, so we have a submenu, right? Private lessons and group classes. So let's just open up our settings again and scroll down to submenu. Now, at the moment, when you hover over services, you will see private lessons and group classes. You can say open on click, and then you actually have to click on it to open up. Or you can even remove it, but I wouldn't suggest that. So we will say it will show arrow. But maybe for accessibility, I'm thinking, Maybe that's a question for Kathryn in the group. What would the best thing be for accessibility? If I think about maybe viewing my site even on a mobile device, would it be better to have an open on click?
That's a good question. I'm not actually sure. I know it's quite a common pattern to have this hamburger menu only on mobile. And I have not read anything about that being an issue for accessibility, but maybe there's someone in the group that knows for sure.
But my question is specifically about the sub menu. So, if you're on a mobile, for example, the sub menu will only open up if I hover over it. It says show arrow.
Oh,
So I'm thinking it might be better to say open on click, so that this person can click and then see the sub menus.
I'm
So,
not sure. Click
yeah,
versus hover, you're wondering?
excuse me?
You're wondering about click versus hover. Is that it? Is
Correct.
that okay? I'm not sure. Oh, so Dana says that maybe people with a screen reader use tab if they're working with a
Yeah,
keyboard navigation, and so maybe on click would be better.
yeah. So that's why I was also thinking that. So let's go for open on click, um, to kind of keep that accessibility in mind, but also for folks who's on a mobile device. All right, so thank you, Dana. So I've set up my navigation menu. The next thing I want to add is my site title, and we are going to call this the music room. And then we can add our site logo. Now I've already added a logo um, to my media library. So let's select the guitar for this one. And then let's enlarge that slightly. Now the next thing I want to do is just remove a bit of the spacing between so if I click on my row here, I've got my site logo on the left and I've got my group block with my site title. So let's click on the row block and open styles and scroll down to block spacing. So you will see there's a bit of block spacing. And let's say we want to take that to 1 or even 0. Okay, we're going to take it to 0 to remove a bit of that spacing, and let's click save. Great, so our header example for the first one is done, and now we can scroll down to the footer. So before I move on to the footer, are there any other questions that have popped up, or something that somebody wanted to ask? Okay, cool. Let's move on to the footer then. Now, as you will notice, my theme, the 2024 theme, has already provided me with um, this really cool footer. But I also wanted to mention that if you are using a different theme, and maybe, yeah, that's a question I had. These are the default WordPress patterns. So, am I right in saying that if you are using a completely different themes, you will still have these patterns available? That is a question. Kathryn, do you know?
So I think there's some patterns that are in core and some that come with the theme.
Yeah, so I think this is actually part of core, right? Because if you go to learn.wordpress.org and you go to extend and you go to patterns, I'm just going to type in footer. Now, these are your curated ones. So I think these are all the ones I see with the 2024 theme, but I assume they are all part of core and therefore available when you use a different theme.
Well, they're in the pattern library, but I don't know if that these are in core. This is a good question. I think these are ones you can import into your site, but they're not built into core, right?
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know if somebody else can confirm that for us. But I just wanted to mention that if you don't see the pattern that I'm using, you can just go to the pattern directory and you can grab it from here. So there's great patterns available right here by just clicking on the pattern and then say copy pattern, and then you can paste it in your template. Okay, cool. All right, so we are moving on to our footer. So let's just open up our footer here and see how it's been built here. Okay, the first thing I want to do is I'm just going to slightly enlarge my site logo a bit. And for the site title, I've already decided on a site title. I'm going to say Ignite Your Sound. Maybe make this a bit larger. Okay, now we get to these columns. Now, the important thing to remember is this is a pattern. So if I click on About here, you will see that we've got a stack block. And then within the stack block, we have a navigation. But of course, that navigation is just a placeholder. It actually doesn't exist on your site yet. So you can just replace that with one of your existing navigation menus, or you can create a new one. So the first thing I actually want to do is I want to change the heading of my column, and let's change that to quick links. All right. Then I'm going to select the navigation menu. And as I said, this is just a placeholder. Now, if you click on the plus icon, it says add block. But if you click on the 3 vertical dots, you have the option to select one of your existing menus, or you can create a new menu. Okay, so I'm going to select one of my existing ones. So if I click on navigation, you will see the navigation menu that I created for my header has now been added. And now below privacy, we actually need to go and add our privacy policy page and our terms and conditions page. Okay, so I'm going to keep that privacy. Let's open our stack block there. And now we are going to say we want to create a new navigation menu. So I'll click on the 3 vertical dots and say create new menu. And then we can click on the plus and we can say, all right, our first is our privacy policy page, which we've already created, right? So click privacy policy page. Let's press enter. Nope. Let's undo that, not enter. So click on the plus again. And the next one we want to add is terms and conditions. And we've already created that page. Now, earlier on, I mentioned that, let's say, for example, you want to add a page or even a post or a link to your navigation menu, but you haven't created it. You'll see there is an option that says create a draft page. So you can actually add it here. Let's say there was no terms and conditions page. You could have said, okay, terms and condition, create draft page, and then you could go to the page and add the content. And when you click update, it won't be a draft anymore. Okay, but we've already created our terms and conditions page. So let's add that there. Okay, I'm happy with that. Now below social, of course, all we need to go and do now is add our URL. At the moment, there's just a hashtag, a placeholder, but you will, of course, then go and add your link to your Facebook, to your Instagram, and to your Twitter. All right, so now I'm going to click Save. Let's just close our list view now and close our sidebar settings. Oh, we might even enlarge this a bit more. Our logo. Okay, now let's go and view this on mobile, just to see what our header and footer looks like on mobile. All right, so I think that looks really nice for our header. You will see my hamburger menu popped up. And if I scroll down, we can see our footer in place as well. Okay, so that's my first example done. Anything else that have popped up in the chat, Kathryn?
Yeah, there is a question from Wolfgang saying that they noticed the header row has 2 child rows and is wondering why not columns. And I was thinking that probably, if it was columns, it wouldn't be as flexible, because then you'd be the elements in each column would have to be the same width for the different components. So in other words, if you had a column on the left with the logo, and then below that you wanted the navigation menu, that they would always have to be the same width if they're in the same column.
Yeah,
But yeah,
that is a good question. So you can, of course, build your header from scratch. And when you actually start building your header from scratch, you will see that it's quite difficult using it with columns. The nice thing about the row block, you will notice, so this row block, if you look at the layout below justification, so we've added the site logo and the group block to this row block, and we've justified it to the left. And then if you click on the second one, you will see that the justification is also the left. But the trick is, when you look at your parent row block, below justification, it says space between items. So it takes the two row blocks, and the one goes to the one side and the one goes to the other side, which is what you want. So yeah, I think that's why the row block is really good in this case.
and there was a
Right.
little,
Yeah.
there was a little bit of discussion about the question of patterns, whether they're in the theme or whether they're in core. And Dana said generate press with generate blocks doesn't necessarily have patterns for the footer. And then James pointed out that a theme developer can actually unregister core blocks, so that you might not see core blocks that you might expect to see in certain themes if they've opted to do that.
Great. Okay, well, thank you for more clarification. But yeah, as I said, if you ever want to find a pattern, you can just go to the pattern directory, and you can find solid headers and footers that's actually been created by the by core for you to use. If you can't find something in your theme that you want to use. All right, so this was the first one that I wanted to show you. So I thought, well, in the next example, let's actually use a header with a cover block to show you how you can do that, and also then a different footer. Okay, we're gonna kind of stick to the music room. I'm gonna end up just changing the name of my site, but we will keep the navigation menu as is. All right, so the great thing is, now if I click on header and I click on the 3 vertical dots, you will see an option below detach. Oh no, wait, sorry. There's one more thing that I wanted to to highlight before I look at my next example, and it works really well here. So some people might want to have a sticky header, meaning that the header sticks even though you are scrolling down. And I just wanted to show folks how to do that. It's quite easy. You merely have to wrap your header in a group block and then change the settings. So let me show you that. So I see at the moment, if we scroll down, of course, the header disappears. But yes, the sticky header is just something I quickly wanted to show you. So I've selected my header in my list view. Let's click on the 3 vertical dots and say group. We'll wrap the header in a group. And then we go to our settings. And below justification, you will see it says position. And now let's click on position. At the moment, it's default, so it's not sticky. But if you click on default, you will see, there's another option. It says sticky. The block will stick to the top of the window instead of scrolling. Okay, so let's select that option and click save. And now if you scroll, you will actually see that it is sticky. Now, the one thing you probably still want to do is change the background color of your group block, because you'll notice at the moment, if I do that, you'll see that that still shows. So we can just go and say background, and let's change the background. And now if you scroll down, the header is sticky. All right. So yeah, that's the one thing I wanted to show you. So now I'm just going to ungroup for now, and then we're back to where we were, and we can click save. All right, now, as I mentioned earlier on, if you click on the 3 vertical dots, there's an option that says replace. And the great thing now is that I can merely replace this pattern with a different pattern. So let's click on replace. And the wonderful thing is, there are various patterns to choose from. So now you can find the pattern that kind of suits your design needs. And then, of course, you can go and tweak and modify it even more if you wanted to. So for today, I am going to go for this pattern that says header inside full width background image. Okay, so let's add that. Yeah, I don't know why that's not disappearing. So let's click save and let's update, and then hopefully that will disappear. Okay, so now we can just open our list view again. Right, and now we can start modifying our header. So let's just open up. We'll see that it's actually a cover block. So, and in our cover block, we have our row. All right, so I am actually going to open up this row, and I want to remove my site title because I've actually created a logo with the name of my site, with my site title. So let's go ahead and add my new site logo. Now remember, I stuck my toolbar to the top. That's why it's there at the top. So let's say replace, open media library, and here's my logo that I already created and uploaded. And this is called Retro Sounds. Okay, now before I move on to the navigation menu, let's select my cover block and change the image. So if I select my cover block, we can now click on replace and change the image. And I will select one of the images that I've already added. And the next thing is you will see the background is quite dark, and that's because of the opacity overlay. So I've selected my cover block, and if I go to styles, the overlay opacity is at 50%. So I'm actually just going to remove this because I've selected an image that kind of works well with the black. Now we can move on to our navigation menu, and we are going to choose a different navigation menu. Let's select the one we've already created, right? And if we go to styles, we can change the color to black. And you can even change the size a bit. So if you wanted to make this a bit, whoops, if you wanted to make it a bit larger, you can of course change the font, etc. Okay. Now something else, you might want to add a bit of more padding. So let's open styles again. Sorry. Settings, go to styles. And let's say, let's add a little bit more padding. Or maybe we want to remove that, just add left and right. And you can see how the padding is implemented. Okay, great. So let's click save. And now we can quickly view this on mobile to see if we like the way it looks. Mobile. And I see this is quite large, so I might say, okay, no, let's actually make this a bit smaller. Click save and go to desktop. Okay, now we can move down to our footer. Once again, just going to open up my list view, click on the 3 vertical dots, say replace. And now we are going to use a different pattern. As you can see, also different patterns to choose from. I'm going to go with full width footer with background color and 3 columns. So let's add that. Let's just save and update again because I see that it's not disappearing. Okay, so let's select our footer. Sorry, I tend to click on global styles. We're not going to global styles. We'll go to the settings of this block. Okay, so let's select our stack block. That's the parent block. And let's change the color, the background color. There we go. And once we do that, we need to, of course, change the color of the text. So I'll select my first column and say we want that to be black. Second column, we want the color to be black as well. Third column, there we go. All right, so if I go to my middle column, we will see we still need to change the navigation menu that's being used there. So I'll click on the 3 vertical dots of the menu and say we want that navigation menu. We might say, we'll call this quick links again. And of course, you need to go and add your, at the moment, I can say remove link. Sorry, I just want to, so there we go, sorry. And then of course we add our link. Let's just remove this for a moment. Let's say not top toolbar. And of course, if you select that, that item, Facebook, you can add your link there, or Instagram, you can modify, edit your link or remove your link. All right, so once that is set up, you will update your address. You've got your main navigation menu in place. You can even add another column to add your privacy column if you wanted to. And of course, you can tweak these things even a bit more. But let's go ahead and save and view this on mobile. And you can see it looks really nice on mobile, good layout, and our header as well. All right, those are the two main examples I wanted to show you today. And yeah, now we have some time for questions and answers or comments.
We have a question about the 3 columns where you changed the text color individually. Could we do that on the parent container, the columns container, just do it once?
No, you could not have done it on the stack block. Unfortunately not.
What about on the columns block?
Oh, okay, let's try. So I'm just going to go to desktop again. So I'm just going to, let's say if I say undo. Okay, so that's all white again. So let's select the main columns block. Text, black. Ah, yes, you could do it. Yes, sorry, I was thinking of the stack block, but very good point. I did not have to do it for each one individually. Yeah, thank you. And of course, then we just want to update that again. Yeah, thank you.
We have another question, which is how would you modify the styling of the expanding menu that displays after clicking the hamburger icon?
All right, so I think what you are referring to is, so for example, let's view this on mobile again. And now you click on the hamburger menu, right? So maybe let's view site. Let's say inspect. And you are saying if you click on there, how do you modify this? I am unsure. I feel like my immediate response would be like, that's probably where you need to add a bit of code. I'm unsure. Kathryn?
I'm on my test site and I'm just checking to see. I think there are some options to style the they call it the overlay menu. So if you select that block, if we go back into the site editor, there
Okay,
are,
so
yeah,
let's go desktop,
yeah,
select our navigation menu.
yeah. And then click the styles on the far right there. Yeah. So you can select the colors for the submenu background and overlay text. But you can't, like, I don't know what you had in mind, Michael, in terms of when you say styling, which part of the styling you can do some color stuff, but you can't change the alignment of just the submenu or things like that. I believe with the options built in, you'd need some CSS, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
We have a bunch more questions flooding in. This awesome because we have a bit of time. So Bob asks, could you discuss the approach for assigning different headers and footers to different pages?
Well, I can quickly touch on that. Just want to make sure I read the question again. Can you change, oops, just go up again. Could you discuss the approach for assigning different headers, footers to different pages? Yes. So of course, if you want to have a page to have a different header and a different footer, you need to, of course, have a different template. So what I would have done, that's where you can create a custom template. So if you go to templates, right, that is actually a really nice topic to get into as well. But if you go to templates and you click on, oh, well, the first thing I can mention is there are some custom templates that you can use. So there's a page, no title, a page with sidebar, a page with wide image, a single with sidebar. So those are custom templates you can use. But if you then create a custom template, let's just call this custom for now. And I will use the same pattern, but now for this pattern, I can say, all right, I actually want to replace this with something completely different. Let's use this one. Let's just select that navigation and all right, so I've got a completely unique header here. Now I can click save. And let's say, for example, I wanted my services page to have a different header. I wanted my services page to have that header. I can then go to pages. I can click on the services page. I can click on pages next to template because that's the template assigned to this page, right? And I can say swap template. And now you can see there's a custom template, the one I created, and I can select that one now and update. And that page, that services page, will now have this header and footer. It won't have the same header as the other pages because I've assigned a different template to the page. So yeah, hopefully that answers that question. It's just about assigning a different template and setting up that template. What's the next one?
We have Trish asked the question, can you change the layout for header, etc., to display differently on mobile, like showing an alternate layout depending on the view, or can you hide a block and show a different one, for example, based on screen size?
I almost feel like that's a bit out of the scope for this session. I also feel like that is not something you can, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Kathryn. I don't think that is something you can do just straight in the editor.
Correct. I think the only options are for that for the navigation bar to have that overlay on mobile or not. And for showing and hiding blocks, you can use a plugin for that. There's been years of discussion in core as to whether there should be the option for conditional hiding of blocks, but it's not something that's in core. So you need a plugin for that. And as in terms of displaying the layout differently on mobile, in terms of other things, you would need CSS for that.
Correct. But yeah, of course, those are definitely things some people want to add. So then you just need to have the right person with the right knowledge to to implement that for you, or the right plugin. Have we looked at Fernando's one? Or is there another one?
I believe I answered that, and it's not
Okay.
really, but we can talk about it. Fernando asked if you can change the behavior of navigation links, for example, underlining them, the color when hovering, the color for visited pages, and there, Fernando was referring to the navigation block specifically. So as far as I know, those are not things you can do, and it's either controlled by the theme or you can add some custom CSS.
Yeah. So it kind of relates to that, some of the other questions. Yeah. All right.
And Ed has a question. Are you able to apply templates to other themes? I have a 2023 theme. I'm thinking about moving to the 2024 theme.
Just trying to wrap my head around that question.
Like, let's say you made a nice homepage layout in one theme. You can't just switch, templates are theme specific, so it won't carry over when you switch themes. Like, the short answer is no. But Wes, I don't know if you want to get into it's a little bit out of scope.
I'm trying to think if you save it, if you maybe save it as the whole page as a pattern or something. I don't know if that's maybe an option, but.
And there's the create block theme plugin where you can, save you can save a version of 2023 and then sort of maybe use the parts of that you want with the parts of 2024 that you want. You can also, I've had people do just a simple copy paste of blocks. You know, you made your pattern or your template in one theme, and you can just select all that. But it's not as straightforward as that, of course, because different themes will be styling the blocks differently. It's not going to look the same. It gets a little complicated. So Ed says, so if I move to the 2024 theme, I will have to recreate my headers and footers. How would you answer that, Wes? I know how I would.
No, you go ahead, Kathryn.
Oh, I mean, the short answer is yes. The same way, you know, if you created a theme with widget-based headers and or footers, you'd have to kind of redo those if you switch themes because they're theme specific. So yeah, the short answer is you probably would, but I would create a test site with your new theme and then move stuff over and then switch the theme. So you're not wiping out what you had before you're ready. And maybe experiment with the create block theme plugin as well.
But I'm wondering if you do go to a new theme, don't the template parts carry over?
I don't think they do.
Okay.
I don't think they do because the template parts that either you created or that came with the theme, I don't think they carry over.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to mention I've also allowed people to unmute. So we've got a few minutes left. So if you rather want to unmute and ask the question, go ahead and do that as well.
No one's unmuting, so I'll just add. Laura chimed in and sort of getting back to your idea, Wes, about what about making a pattern? Will that carry over? But it's I think it gets saved in the theme, doesn't it? As part of the theme. Again.
Well, if you, yeah, I need to just look at that a bit later, and maybe I can double check with is it Ed?
Yeah.
Ed, I think we'll need to double check that, but that was really a good question. But yeah, Laura, I think we were thinking the same thing, but I'm unsure.
So there's a question I think is probably out of scope. Marcella's asking about the relationship between the parent theme and the child theme.
Yeah, Marcella, I will share a link with you. So Kathryn, I don't know if you can just maybe make a note of Ed and Marcella's questions, but Marcella, I will share something with you to help you understand parent themes and child themes better. A little video that actually goes in and covers that for you, and will hopefully shed light on it. All right, I'm going to stop the recording for now. So thank you everyone for joining and watching the recording, and then we can continue chatting a bit more.